It's about time we got caught up on the recent Rocket League stuff going on. Over the past few months, there have been so many things to unpack. Like Rocket League Racing is a thing that's coming apparently. We'll talk about that. People are revealing what's truly possible in Rocket League's physics through tasks. And there's so much more we're gonna get into, including a massive change to Rocket League Ranked that wasn't even announced prior to this new season that just started. But let's catch up on some things that have happened over the past few months before getting into that stuff about the new season. If you saw my video a few months ago about the Rocket League bot invasion, you would have heard me talk in the end about how Rocket League YouTube content is teetering on the edge of destruction. It may not feel like it right now, but for a while, myself and a lot of other creators were really concerned, and here's why. After they resolved that whole bots in ranked thing, so they banned all the bots and everything, they announced on Reddit that they're taking steps to adding an anti-cheat in Rocket League. You'd think that's a good thing, but in Rocket League's case, it's actually really, really bad. Because adding an anti-cheat to Rocket League would immediately mean that BakkesMod would no longer exist. And for those that don't know, Rocket League creators like myself heavily rely on BakkesMod's existence. So it's had me and a lot of other creators really worried. For example, if BakkesMod didn't exist, this is what my channel would look like. All those videos that are now gone would not have been possible without BakkesMod. You can see why this is such a big deal to me. It's such a good thing for the community and honestly holds the Rocket League content scene together, while Rocket League themselves don't add a lot of new stuff. But anyway, it's been about 5 months since they first announced that they're working on anti-cheat, and we actually haven't heard a thing about it since then, which hopefully means that they're just dropping the idea. That's what I'm hoping at least. Honestly, it seems like they don't even really need an anti-cheat anymore, in my opinion. Like their system for detecting bots in ranked is pretty spot on, it seems. Like I haven't heard anyone talk about AI in ranked since that whole thing happened. So I really am keeping my fingers crossed that they're just dropping the idea, because I really want BakkesMod to stick around. Speaking of BakkesMod, another thing people have been up to is making insane Rocket League clips with this thing called TAS. If you don't know what TAS is, it's basically a way to kind of set checkpoints at any point in the shot. So you can try over and over to get your car and the ball to do exactly what you want in every moment with unlimited attempts. So it's still using completely normal Rocket League physics, but with the exact timing, precision, and consistency that you choose. So suddenly, insane free play clips like this are now possible. I saw this clip the other day of someone getting 30 flip resets in like 3 seconds with it. The fact that this is theoretically possible in Rocket League's physics is just mind-blowing to me. Obviously, no human is ever going to be able to do this, but it makes me curious about how this could be used for discovering actual new mechanics. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone messing around in TAS actually discovered something new and useful. It just seems like the perfect playground for it. I want to talk to you about Rocket League Racing and what that's all about next, but just before, today's video is sponsored by War Thunder. If you haven't heard of War Thunder at this point, it's basically the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. You can see for yourself with some of this footage, it's really impressive how realistic it is. There are more than 2,000 tanks, planes, helicopters, ships, all modeled down to their individual components. And that amount of detail actually plays into the gameplay itself. Like the more sensitive parts of the vehicles you hit, the more damage you'll do, and vice versa. It's got fast action-packed PvP battles and more realistic tactical modes. So there's something for you no matter your playstyle. I said this before, but I really like the sound design in this game, just the music with the layered sound effects tie together so nicely. War Thunder is available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation and previous console generations. And if you use my link below, you'll get a large free bonus pack to get you started. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring the video. So back to the news, this Rocket League Racing announcement actually happened a while back, but it missed the Rocket League community for a while, and you'll see why. And honestly, it's less of an announcement and more of just a leak with almost no extra info tied to it. On March 31st, a reporter posted an article about how Epic Games is freezing hiring to cut costs, yada yada. But in that article, there's one little paragraph explaining where they got this information. Basically, it's an email they received from an Epic Games employee about how they're shifting their focus to must-succeed initiatives for 2023. Some of which are Fortnite things like Unreal Editor, a LEGO collaboration, but also something called Rocket League Racing. So that's pretty crazy. Something called Rocket League Racing is coming, likely in 2023. That's a pretty big deal, but unfortunately, that's literally all the information there is about this in the article. A couple months later, this news eventually made its way to Twitter, and a lot of people thought Rocket League Racing was just a Fortnite thing. Because I mean, if you look around it, all that other stuff seems to be about Fortnite, and Fortnite even has their own Rocket League cars in the game now. But I actually disagree. I think this is a legit Rocket League thing that's coming. And the reason I believe that is because after some more research, I found this job listing posted 10 months ago from Psyonix looking for a senior level designer. And in the details of that job listing, more specifically, they're looking for someone to help with gameplay flow of racing levels. That to me just feels like too big of a coincidence to take lightly. The timing of that being 10 months ago and then this leak happening happening from a separate source just seems to align too perfectly. It all points toward this actually being a real Rocket League thing that's coming soon. I do want to mention that there is a chance that this could all just be fake, being that none of this is actually coming from Psyonix themselves. I can't even personally verify that this job posting is actually from the real Psyonix, but it just feels to me like too big of a coincidence to be completely made up. Another thing worth mentioning is that they're specifically looking for someone with Unreal Engine 5 experience. So no matter what, that's a good thing. I feel like that could either mean that Rocket League Racing is like its own separate game that they're working on. So in that case, it's a pretty big project, not just a side mode. Or it's something that'll come if/when Rocket League itself moves to Unreal Engine 5. That one I feel like is a little bit far-fetched because honestly, guys, I'm starting to lose hope in that. Porting Rocket League entirely to Unreal Engine 5 kind of just feels to me like an idea they had one day, but they dropped as soon as they realized the challenge of it. There's still a chance it could happen, but honestly, guys, it's been like almost 2 years. I don't know anymore. All right, let's talk about the new season. There's some interesting stuff going on here. First and foremost, the random bugs on new updates are definitely still there. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. A weird one was apparently the Season 10 Grand Champion tags were just gray at first, so they didn't have that red glow like they're supposed to. Fortunately, that was just a quick fix a couple hours later, so it's all good now. Another one was one we discovered while doing placements. Apparently, you can get disconnected in free play now somehow. Like, how is that even possible? It doesn't actually make any difference. Like, you can still queue just fine, but it was weird because when we got into the next game, it still had that disconnect symbol, even though the gameplay was completely normal. So I don't know, that's a weird one. Obviously, we got this new map, which I think is pretty cool. I'm definitely a fan. The Rocket Pass is pretty good, I think. I don't know, I never use items anyway. But there's one big problem this season that has a lot of people really annoyed. And it's something that a lot of people like so far, and a lot of people absolutely hate so far. Psyonix decided that this season and all the seasons going forward, they would reset the ranks a lot more harshly than they have in the past. In the patch notes, they state that the season reset formula has been updated to mitigate rank drift across all playlists. Now, I think I know what this means, but I'm not entirely sure, so feel free to correct me. What I think they mean by rank drift is, you know how for most people, their 2s and 3s ranks are by far their highest, and then 1s is like way down in the dumps? Like, if you look at the rank distributions for each playlist, you can see how inflated they get over time, especially nowadays since the ranks have been inflating for so long. 2v2 is way easier to reach GC in than 1v1, for example. As of Season 9, GC1 in 3s was the top 0.4%. In 2s, it's the top 1%, so already a huge difference there. And in 1s, it's the top 0.09%. Like, GC1 has a completely different meaning depending on what playlist you're talking about. So what they've done to fix that is drop everyone's 2s MMR by about -300 at GC level, in 3s by about -100, and in 1s stayed around the same area depending on your rank. If you're lower ranked, you might have actually gone up in 1s, which is pretty cool. Clearly, this is brutal for 2s players, to say the least. 300 MMR is like 2 full ranks. Like, I was GC2 at the end of last season, and even after winning most of my placements, I placed at Champion 3 Div 1. Like, that is such a big difference, but at the same time, I think I personally agree with this change, and hear me out. Taking a step back and thinking about it, it is kind of weird how we have completely different meanings for GC1 depending on what playlist you're talking about. Like, in theory, it would make so much more sense for GC1 to mean the same thing across the board. So that way your ranks are like somewhat even in all the playlists. And if you actually are lower ranked in something, then it truly does mean you're worse in that playlist. So at first I was like, what the heck is Psyonix doing? Why am I low champ 3 after being GC2 before? But the more I think about it, I'm starting to shift towards agreeing with this change, which is why I'm so confused now at the fact that they've reverted this adjustment now. You heard that right. They've actually partially reverted this MMR adjustment, at least in 2s. About a day after the season started, they put out this announcement saying that they're dialing back how much they're changing 2v2 by. So instead of it being -300 MMR, it's closer to around -150 instead. Everything else is staying the same, only the one playlist that needed this adjustment the most is now not getting it nearly as much. And you can see on Twitter, a lot of people have this similar reaction. At first, people were pretty upset with it being such a drastic change, but they started coming around to it once they started realizing the purpose of it. But once that started happening is when Psyonix decided to revert the change. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm clearly not the only one who's thinking this. It's like all these back and forth adjustments have done is spark a debate in the community about it without actually making any progress. I'm curious what you guys think about all this. I think I've made my opinion pretty clear. I don't think there will be any more updates on this situation, at least for now, but if there are, I'll put them in the description. Anyway, thanks for watching. Remember to check out War Thunder through the link below. It's completely free and available on PC, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation and previous console generations. You can use that link below for the free large bonus pack, as I just said. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring the video. That's about it. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.